Remember 1 year ago when the Scorpion was added to Roblox Jailbreak and everyone wanted its value to rise to ridiculous levels, completely breaking the trading expansion? Many users were able to get tremendous overpayments by trading it away, basically able to double, if not triple, their $2 million investment on the car in a matter of hours. If you never got to experience that time period, you're gonna absolutely love the new Iceborn vehicle being added to Roblox Jailbreak, because it is gonna be just as valuable due to it also being a supercar, which much of the current fan base loves to trade for. If you're not already subscribed, you better be, because we've had so many changes in the past few days that they're single-handedly reviving Jailbreak's player count, and this is the only page that is going to cover it all. So, going back to this Iceborn vehicle, it has so much to offer. And for anyone who loves gimmicks, this might be, on paper, the most advanced vehicle ever added to Roblox Jailbreak. In fact, I am considering this to be the next Aperture. You might as well call the Iceborn the Aperture 2.0. Not only are both vehicles' designs very similar, but it's for sure going to stand out with its acceleration, because Badamo helpers have already confirmed it. But best of all, it has these new avalanche effects. What our insiders told us is that as you push the Iceborn to its limits, it's going to leave behind a trail of icy chaos. And while they wanted to save the initial reveal for surprises, imagine coordinating with a whole crew of users and using the Iceborn. It is going to be ridiculous. This vehicle will also reportedly feature better handling, because many mobile players complained about the Scorpion having bad handling. So here's to hoping that the Iceborn is not only going to be for show, but also going to be a game changer for practicality, because it's introducing some new effects to the table. For instance, compare the Icebreaker from a few years ago. Despite that vehicle doing relatively well in trading right now, it's not going to hold up to what is being said about the new Iceborn. That being said, what are we looking at when it comes to actually obtaining the Iceborn? Well, what's also unique is that the way everyone is going to be able to unlock the ability to purchase the car is after completing a community challenge where the entire game has to work up to grinding for 20 billion cash, basically exactly the same as what was there when we had the OG event happening. You probably shouldn't worry much about the whole requirement for the entire community to earn 20 billion, because I don't think it's necessarily going to be accurate. In the case of when Mad City tried to do this, it flopped so poorly that the developers added a bunch of money to the counters artificially, so don't feel rushed to grind if you already have enough, like me. But anyways, that brings us to the cost of the car. I heavily suggest having at least $1 million for buying the Iceborn, since that is at least around what the price is being considered. I heard it might be less given the community effort involved in getting the vehicle, but I do strongly believe the vehicle will cost money after the community unlocks it, because the Iceborn is meant to actually be a competent vehicle for the players that already have a lot of vehicles in Roblox Jailbreak. This is generally a good thing, because if you're watching this video to this point, that means that you are actually invested in this community, unlike a large majority of the player base that doesn't come anywhere close to that. In fact, less than 1% of all visits even come close to getting a few 10,000 at this point, because they can't make it out of jail. A good recent example of this is when Roblox Jailbreak was pinned as the curator-picked game for a bunch of new Roblox players to check out. There were like 60,000 players on the game, but none of them interacted with the community whatsoever, and it genuinely seemed to be more like bots playing. But regardless, I am super hyped up for the Iceborn vehicle. Even in the Badamo post, it said that the Iceborn was going to have high speeds, and while I don't think it's necessarily going to beat the Scorpion, it's going to trade some of that insane top speed for better maneuverability, control, handling, and acceleration. With its limited availability, this is also what translates directly to value. Contrary to popular belief, a lot of people think that vehicles rise randomly, but that's not the case, because if you look at the Parisian or the Aperture, a big part playing a role in those vehicles increasing in value is due to them also being supercars and having extremely good performance. It would honestly be perfect if the Iceborn is right in between them, as it fills a gap that some players have been complaining about, where the perfect vehicle for them in Jailbreak would be a middle ground between the Aperture and Parisian. I already talked about how it's going to be close to a spiritual successor to the Aperture due to the similar design philosophy, and the avalanche feature could also, on paper, be used strategically, maybe to make the vehicle harder to track, especially with its reported better maneuverability, seemingly being suited to handle well in the city. Given its status as a limited edition supercar with unique features, the Iceborn is anticipated to have significant trading value due to these features. Where will it start? We'll see very soon, but I definitely think the first day it will easily be getting overpayments of something like a Wedge or Torero at the very bottom of the line, or in other words, equivalent to 2.5 million, though again, that's my bare minimum expectation. When the first big limited vehicle was added after the trading expansion was released, it was the Javelin, and everyone thought it would flop. But after a day or two, it started pulling in vehicles around the 10 million range, and now look at where it is, trailing behind the Arachnid, which starts at 30 million, where of course, the Javelin is right behind it at a very stable 27.5 million, which is fantastic. Now again, those are some very high expectations to set for the new Iceborn, but I'm taking Asimo's comments on this new car relatively seriously, because he has been saying over and over again that he wants to appease both sides of the community, where there is not only a new seasonal vehicle, which I will cover in a future video that anybody can obtain, but also a new oil tanker truck for a fairly reasonable price, and now this supercar being the cherry on top for those serious grinders. So there are some high standards to meet here, and I don't think he would do a whole event if this were to just be another lazy event car that only does 200 miles per hour max speed, like the seasonal cars usually do. There's clear excitement from the player base about the Iceborn's introduction, particularly among those who enjoy trading and collecting rare vehicles. The unique visual effects and performance capabilities are likely to make it a coveted item in the community, and it seems poised to be a significant addition to Roblox Jailbreak, combining aesthetic appeal with gameplay-changing mechanics. I would find it hard to see the Iceborn flop because its introduction could potentially reinvigorate player engagement through both gameplay and trading dynamics, so don't be surprised when you see it climbing its way through the ranks in the trading island soon.